Today we are going to draw a cute little summer tile, I like to say. We are going to draw one tangle in the center of this. It's a tangle that was deconstructed by Maria's granddaughters, Indy and Mazzy. And this tangle is called Zingo, Z-I-N-G-O. It's very cool. We are going to draw around a border, if you will, around the outside of this tile. And we are going to use fragments to fill in the borders, and we're going to use our fragments to create little butterflies that go around our little flower, our Zingo flower, I'm going to call it, in the center. Today's project is what we call a ZIA project. It's Zentangle inspired art. Now what that really means for us today is that we are drawing our fragments to look like butterflies. So we're creating a piece that actually looks like something. It's going to represent butterflies. And if you know about the Zentangle method, then you know that traditional classical Zentangle is drawn in black and white, and it is non-representational. It's abstract, if you will. It is simply patterns, and that is all. You can look at them up or down. There's no top or bottom, no right or left. They look fine as you turn your tile in any direction. But that's not what we're doing today. We're doing ZIA. And because we're doing ZIA, we get to break some rules. And so our ZIA today is going to be colored with some, I'm going to use watercolors. If you're not a watercolor person, you can use colored pencils or markers. You can even do this tile in black and white and just shade it with graphite. It's going to look great no matter what you do. Remember, with Zentangle, whether you're doing ZIA or traditional, there are no mistakes. And so with that having been said, we are going to go ahead and get started. Now we are going to start with our pencil, because we are going to draw a border. Now we can't put lines on a circle or dots on a circle because there are no corners. So what we are going to do is simply aura inside the perimeter of this round tile. Now the trick for me, and you might want to consider it as well, is to turn the tile frequently so that you get a smoother, more consistent line. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to come in maybe just a 1/4 inch from the outside, pretty close, but you know, not touching. And I'm not doing too much before I turn it. I want to keep my wrist relaxed so that every time I'm drawing, I'm essentially drawing the same line as I turn the tile. And that's when I talk about getting a consistent line. That's why I'm getting it a little bit more consistent. It's not perfect. So you can see some of my line is a little closer to the perimeter and others are a little farther away. But all in all, it is still pretty good. It's a pretty good aura, and it matched the end. That's always a plus. So I've got my first aura line drawn. Now this is where we're going to create our fragments to put our butterflies. So the first one, like I said, is about a 1/4 inch in. The second aura is going to come in maybe even in as much as an inch. And that way we're going to have plenty of room to draw our butterflies. Now remember, all we're doing is auraing this line here, and that aura was an aura of the perimeter of our Zendala tile. We're a little farther away from it with this second aura, so it's a little more difficult to get it circular like we like, but that's okay. Remember, perfection is overrated, which is kind of a good thing because none of us are that perfect. Okay, look, it looks pretty good to me. It looks like I've got a pretty consistent inch around, which is great. So now we are going to divide this circle with lines to make our fragments, or our reticula actually, for our fragments. And I'm going to start with a straight line from the top down inside. I'm going to turn it and do another one just like I did. Straight down. There we go. And now I'm going to come in between. And then our last line is going to be right here. Now I'm using an 01 micron. I will use a PN micron when I start filling in some black ink, because I am going to want some contrast here. Now, what we're going to do to fill in these fragments, this is a fragment that is so simple. I'm going to start with a dot in what I perceive as the center of this little rectangular shaped reticula. Then I am going to draw a petal shape, a rounded shape that connects to the corner. So I've got 4 shapes, 4 corners, and if you use your imagination, this can be a butterfly. So I'm going to fill in each one of these with that shape, with that fragment. That's how we begin today. And take your time as you draw these. And remember to breathe. Sometimes we get so focused. I find myself holding my breath. So if you do that as well, once you notice it, stop. Take a deep breath. You may be starting to notice that because each one of these little rectangular reticulums are just a little different, that you may have differences in your butterflies. Some may have longer, stretched out wings. Others may have just shorter, fatter wings, because it's all driven at this point by the shape of your reticulum. Last one. So there we have basics of our butterfly. I am keeping this simple, but I do want do a little decorating. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take and I am going to decorate, just pick any one. I am going to draw a sort of a band on each one of these wings, the top ones. And I'm making this band by drawing a sort of an aura on the side, on the inside. And all I'm going to do here is draw lines, aura lines. Now when I fill a space like this, and you can do whatever is more comfortable for you, but I tend to draw one side and then flip it over and then draw the other side. Now, I'm going to put this decoration on every other one. So instead of doing this one now, I'm going to do this one. You could also do your aura line on the outside if you need to make your wing a little larger. So I have my band of lines, aura lines drawn, and I'm gonna do something different with this, the alternating butterflies. These are, we're gonna aura them as well, just like we did this, but we're gonna do something different inside the band. So I'm gonna start by auraing this one. And again, we're starting with the top wings. And those are the ones that we're decorating. I'm going to come back and do the bottom ones in a minute here. Now that I've got my aura, I'm going to draw a straight line out to the point of the wing. Okay. And then I'm going to do 2 dots on that line. Then I'm going to draw an aura, pretty a wider one around each one of these. Now remember, there are no mistakes, so if you drew your dots too close, then just make your your circles go behind each other because it's all good. Two more of these guys. And my last one here. Okay, so all the top wings of my butterflies are finished, my decorating. There's not a whole lot of room for a lot of decorating, so we're not gonna get crazy here. But a lot of butterflies have like fake eyes on their wings to distract their predators. So we're gonna do the same thing, and we're gonna draw some solid black circles. Now on my butterflies that have my aura lines in the wings, I'm going to draw 2 circles down here, and I'm going to fill them in, be solid black. One a little bit smaller as you get close up. So a bigger one down here, and then a smaller one up here. And that is going to go on each one of these 4 that have the bands on the top. Very simple decoration, but it adds some solid black, which I always like because that gives us a little drama and a little contrast. Okay, one left. Okay, now the alternating bottom wings, we're going to do an aura on this one on the inside, like we did when we made our band. So it's an aura that comes to kind of a point. And then we're going to draw one round black dot in each one of those. Okay. Okay, and now there's one last thing that our butterflies need that will make them for certain distinguishable as butterflies, and that is a little bit of an antenna. So from the center, I'm going to come up and just do a little curly Q there. Same thing over here. I'm going to do every other one because I might want to do a little bit different type of antenna on the other ones. Okay, so on these, actually I'm going to use my PN pen for these antennas so that they will be a little darker and a little different. And we are just gonna do there. They don't look all that different, but they don't curl quite as much, and because we're starting at the top with the PN, they are all just a little different. Okay, we're done now with our butterflies. I'm going to erase my pencil lines because I'm going to use watercolor. And watercolor, once I paint over pencil with watercolor, that pencil line will always be there. So I'm just going to get rid of them. That way I don't have lines underneath my color. It's not that big a deal. And it's ZIA, Zentangle Inspired Art, so I can break the rules. With classical traditional art, Zentangle art, remember, we do not use an eraser. Okay, now I'm going to take this off screen to get rid of all those eraser shavings. I'll be right back here. No pencil lines. And now, no more eraser junk. Okie dokie. Now we're going to draw that fun tangle Zingo. We're going to start with our 01 in the center. Now, if your Zingo goes beyond the space here in the center, there's nothing wrong with that. We'll just draw that up behind our butterflies. So keep that in mind as you're drawing size-wise. This is the space you have to work with. Zingo starts with the print top. And then another print top. This one's going to be a little bigger. And it kind of looks like a snowman with a small one on the top. So now we're going to do little half moon shapes going around these two shapes. I'm going to start here where they meet. I like to add my first ones there. And then we're going to add one here. And then we'll probably add like 3 more here. Okay, now we're going to aura this. Now I want a little contrast, a little extra contrast on this tangle inside. So I am going to fill in these initial half moon shapes with solid black. And that will just give me enough drama to make me happy. Okay, now I'm going to draw my petals, and I'm going to come around with a double point on each one. Okay, now I'm going to aura the petal shapes. So let's start here. And we'll come over here. Remember to turn your tile as you go around. There. Now I am going to do another aura, and this one is going to have some space to it because I'm going to make a little border out of it. So let's start here. Now is my first time to go behind my butterfly wing. One more aura around this, so, but it will be a little closer. Now I am going to draw some lines in this thing here. I told you we were going to make this a border. So I'm kind of drawing these lines. I'm just connecting where there are points, I guess. That's what I'm doing here. Kind of flattens them out a little bit. And then in between, I'm going to draw some more lines. But I am going to want to keep turning the tile so it looks, obviously there's no reason to put one there. I've got all my lines drawn inside my Zingo border. Now I'm going to pick up my PN pen simply because it'll go a little faster if I fill in these black with the whiter nib. So let's start. You can start anywhere. There's no right or wrong place to start. And we are just going to fill in every other one of these. So it's kind of like a checkerboard that's flat and rolled out. So it's not a grid, just a border where every other space is dark. This is one of my favorite ways to add drama or contrast to a piece, is to use this border that's every other one black and every other one white. Starting to come together now as I get this pattern going here. almost can see shape forming in our little border because of these dark blocks against the light ones. I should say that you don't really need a PN pen to do this. You could do it with an 01. It just goes a little faster for me. But remember too, we're trying to find some calm, some zen, at least some of us. And you can get a ton of zen just from doing what we're doing right now, filling spaces in with ink. So take your time with whatever pen you have. And remember to breathe. And enjoy the journey. Well, I just messed it up a little bit. That's okay, remember? No mistakes. So we have a little tiny white thing there. That's okay. No mistakes. What I didn't do is check to see if this was going to work out. Usually does without much planning. But once I get a little closer to the end, and I'm getting kind of there now, I want to just double check. So this would be black, 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 and this would be black. And luckily for me, it's going to work out just like usually does. I say usually because it really doesn't always work out. Sometimes I have to add an extra line to make an extra square. And that's why I want to look before I get too close. Because if I wait till the very end, I'm running out of places to add the extra square. But I don't have to do that this time. So now I have my little border, my black and white checker border, if you will. And I did have that one spot right here where I kind of went over or wasn't supposed to. But I don't think it really stands out that much. So I'm not going to worry about that for now. And I think that the next step is going to be for our painting. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take a minute, put our pen down, and we're going to get our watercolors. Okay, we're moving on to the next step of our little project here. And we are going to use, well, I am going to use watercolor paints. I have these watercolor paints from Peerless Watercolors, and they're flat. They come in these sheets that are flat, and then I kind of use double-sided tape to tape them onto a card, which is usually just scrap watercolor paper. And then you just get it wet with your brush, and it's awesome because it's very vibrant. So at any rate, that's what I'm going to use, and I have selected, this is a mystery yellow that came in a mystery pack, just a package of scraps, I think, but it's a really brilliant yellow, and I really like that. So I have an olive green, I have a butterfly wing blue, how appropriate. I have a color they call heliotrope, which is a violet or a purple, as you see. And then I have lip smackin' pink for my red or my pink. So I've got just, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different colors. A red, a purple, a blue, green, and a yellow. Missing an orange, but I could make it if I wanted, but I don't have that much to paint here. And what I am gonna do is use this, it's a number 4 round brush, and I've got some water here in a little cup. It's already yellow because I had to test my yellow paint. And we are going to start with yellow, in fact, because that is kind of a lighter color. And I'm getting my brush wet, and then I'm coming in and I'm just gonna kind of twirl this wet brush here. I think I need a little more water, so I'm just picking up a tad on the tip. Okay, so I've got my paint on the tip of my brush. I'm going to use this yellow for my printums in the center of my Zingo flower, which is what I'm calling it. Now, this is going to be kind of a loose painting technique. I'm not going to worry too much if I go outside of the lines, even though I'm trying my best to keep it inside. I'm not going to get all concerned if I happen to go over at some point, because I likely will. Now, one of the things that I am doing that will help is, hopefully as you can see, when I am drawing next to a line around something like here, I have my line above my brush because I see it better that way. If I had tried to do that down here, then my brush is actually in the way. It's almost like the same thing when we're drawing our Zentangle patterns. You want to turn your tile when you paint, or your paper, whatever you're using, so that your brush, just like your pen, can be something you see, and that way you'll more likely do a better job. Now, the other thing with watercolor is that if you touch two colors together, then they are probably going to bleed a little bit. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this lip smackin' pink here. And I'm going to put this on these petals here. But I've got my aura, and I'm just being real careful here at the edge where it could touch the yellow. Flipping my piece around. quite a bit of pigment in that first one, so I'm just, and a little bit of extra water too, so I'm just kind of picking it up and using it in my next space here. Just going to pick up a little bit more on my brush. Doing that off camera just for speed. I really like these Nicholson Peerless watercolors because the colors are so vibrant and they actually stay pretty vibrant even after they're dry. I only have one more session, I guess, 2 little petals. I've got a little pink in my aura here, but that's okay. No mistakes. And I'm not really all that worried about it. That's going to be it for the pink. So the next thing I want to do is work on my butterflies a little bit. And I think what I'm going to do there is one at a time, if you will. I am going to, let's start with this olive green color here. Okay. Now, I'm going to use this olive green on the bottom wings of one of my 2. I happen to choose the one that had the band of just straight aura lines, but you could choose a different, you could choose the other one if you wanted. Just gonna mix this with one of the other colors to make one of my 2 butterfly designs. Now, if I haven't mentioned it yet, which I don't believe I have, I really like watercolor on these Zentangle tiles, the white tiles. I just think that they soak up the water nicely, and then they don't really wrinkle. They kind of dry fairly flat, which is nice. The other tan and the gray and the black tiles that Zentangle makes all act a little bit differently though with water, and I don't really care for how watercolor looks on them or reacts with the paper as well as I do when I'm using white. So if I'm going to use watercolor, I like to kind of stick to my white tiles. I smeared. Oh no. No mistakes. But you see what I did? I let my hand go over it. Or my sweater, one of the two. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my brush as clean as I can. And I'm going to dab off most of the water. But I need enough to kind of just paint over top with just water. And it almost kind of erases it. And then use paper towel to sop it up. There's still a little bit there, so I'm going to do this same thing again. Okay, now remember when I said it's not that big a deal and I'm not going to stress over it. So I'm not really all that concerned about it. I'm still probably going to paint a background in here. And that will take care of that. But I did want to show you how you could clean that up if you wanted to. So now that I've been reminded I need to be careful where I put my hand, I'm going over here to this side. This one. These green ones. Okay, as with any watercolor paper, you want to try not to overwork it. Now I erased over here and I got a little bit of extra water on that particular wing, so it's a little lighter, but if I keep playing with it, I think I'll degrade the paper some, so I'm going to leave that be. I might touch it back up after it's dry, but that's for later. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is use my butterfly wing glue, and I'm going to once again get a little bit on the tip. Don't want it too wet, and I am going to use this for the band with the aura. The auras I'm leaving white for now. And I'm just painting over the band with my butterfly wing blue. I really just love how vibrant these colors are. Get a little bit more. Do the next one. That's all I have left. Okay, so there is my butterfly wing blue. I'm going to stick with that color. All right, so same color, butterfly wing blue. And this time I'm going to work on the bottom wings of our other butterfly. And I'm going to keep this color inside the aura lines just like we did before. Turn my tile, I'm trying to remember to be careful I don't smear any of the other paint like I did before. now I'm done with my butterfly wing glue. Clean my brush off, and I'm going to pick up our last color, which is that heliotrope, or that purple color. Okay, and we're going to paint the tops of these guys with this color. And I'm going to paint right over those circles, so don't worry about that because I don't want this to be too difficult. It's just a fun little piece, and it's kind of some whimsy to it. And so you don't need to worry about those dots. But if you were, there's something we can do at the end, and I'll show you what that is when we get there. But you'll have to wait until all of the paint is dry. Okay, so that's what our butterflies are going to look like. Quiet in these classes. Some of that is by design, because I want you to relax as you work. You don't necessarily need to be interrupted with my jabber. Although I do try to give you some tips as I go. Little things to help. Okay, that is it for the painting. Well, you know what? I think I'm gonna try to touch up this little wing here. I'm not gonna get crazy. I'm not gonna go over and over it, but it should be dry enough now for me to try to put a little bit of color back in there. So let's see. We'll just go over the whole thing. I think that's going to be good for now. I am going to let that dry just a little tiny bit, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to kind of work on the background, because yes, we are going to put color in the background. Okay, hold on, I'll be back. Okay, I am back to do the background. For the background, we're going to use a color called Alice Blue. It's a little bit lighter. It's not as brilliant as the color in our butterflies, which is perfect because really all we want is maybe the look of some sky in the background. And we're just gonna add a little bit of this Alice Blue. And again, we're not going to get crazy about it. I'm going to start here. On the inside and work my way out to the edge. Because I want this to be a lighter shade, we are going to stretch it as far as we can, because that will kind of lighten it up, smooth that pigment out a little bit. Now the auras on our Zingo and on our butterfly wings are kind of helping us get some separation here between the sky background and then the rest of the details, the flower, Zingo flower and the butterflies. Those are our details. Let's see if I can, I don't even know if I can see it, but I did try to dab a little bit of blue there. This also doesn't have to be, I don't worry about this being all blended really nicely or anything like that, because it is just background. This seems a little darker. Stretch that a little bit more. That is not going to do it. Okay, let's try this. Not only do the auras that we added give us separation, which is nice, but it also kind of accentuates those details, those things we've drawn, the butterflies and the flower. They pop a little bit more because of that white, basically white outline that we have created. Adding a little bit more water to that section there because it's so dark. not dark enough to help me anywhere else, Bo. So I guess I'll stop playing with that. If you wanted, you could have made this very center background green and then blue towards the outside if you wanted. It would give it more of a grass to sky look. But I'm just trying to keep it simple today. Sure how this is going to work, but I am trying to kind of create a watercolor shadow, adding a little more pigment right next to our Zingo. I'm not sure it's going to work, but hey, I'm not afraid to try. Okay, I think that's just going to have to be good enough on that. That level, that one closest to the Zingo. Now we're moving out. This is where we have that green that went outside of our butterfly wing. And I just painted over it with the blue, just kind of went away. Which is a nice thing about these watercolors. Or watercolor in general. Sometimes I think it can be very forgiving, but then I also think sometimes it's very unforgiving, so I suppose it just depends on what you like. takes to create that. I have a hard time being very delicate with my paintings. I guess I'm better with a easy, whimsical style. I think trying to be delicate about it just makes it more stressful for me. And then it's not fun because it's stressful. So consider that too with your art. It should bring you joy. And if you've had a teacher or a fellow artist or, you know, even just a critic tell you that your art wasn't good enough, or it wasn't this enough, or wasn't whatever, don't listen to them. I do my art for the joy of creating it. I love the Zentangle method because it has really given me the confidence to believe I'm an artist. That was not an easy thing for me. It's too much contrast. Shame on me. I have to go back in. I'm still being mindful of my hand so I don't smear anything that's still wet. When you're working with a round brush, it helps to kind of twirl the brush as you go along. Kind of helps keep that brush round, keep you with a nice point on the tip of it, which is very helpful as you're painting. Missed one of these sections. Oops, and I went over the line. I'm not worried about that though, because we're going to take one more step when we're done. And because I drew or painted over that line, I'm going to show you a way that you can kind of clean that up after the fact. Oh, and another one, 2 in a row. How did I not see those? Well, let me explain. When you're drawing patterns, oftentimes get caught up in just whatever you're drawing at the moment, whatever that line is, and you forget to step back and take a look at the whole thing and see the overall pattern. That's usually how I miss it. We're almost done. I'm getting excited here. Okay, I think we're going to be done for now. It's not too bad. I see I did kind of go over the heliotrope there with the blue, but for the most part I didn't do too bad. Just picked up a little excess water I saw there. There's some streaking. It's not completely dry yet, which is something to consider. So let's not worry about that at the moment. Let's just take a minute, take a little break, and let it dry. Okay, our tile is completely dry now. And I'm going to add some shading to add a little bit more contrast, and I am going to do it with graphite. Now I know that's a little different to add graphite over top of the watercolor, but that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to warn you about a couple of things as we do this. I would say first thing is to go very light with the graphite. Don't press down hard. That's what I mean. Because if you press too hard, you're going to burnish it in, and it will not blend very well. So I'm just kind of softly putting down one little layer there, and then I'm going to bring my tortilla on here, and again, very lightly, I am going to, oh, I must not have had much there, let's try that. Blend it in a way like we do with traditional Zentangle. And right now we're just putting a little shadow around our center printoms, making them kind of pop a little bit. Now, one thing, and I've done enough of this to know, if you use too much graphite over top of your watercolor, it just makes it dull. So I want to be careful with the graphite that I am using. So the next thing I'm going to do is put a little bit of graphite around the outside of our petals. Now that puts us into our black and white border, and I'm just going to let you know that you don't need to put any graphite on top of the black in the border, because it's with all that actually make it lighter, because the graphite is more of a gray and that is lighter than black. So you can see I'm skipping over the black sections for the most part. All the way around. Now let's blend that out a little bit. And I'm not really blending much on the black sections, but I will a little bit just because. And it's not a big deal, so don't stress over that. Small circular motion, very light, almost like to say we're tickling the graphite as we blend it. And pulling it away from the edge. Let's go back here. There we go. So that's another layer of graphite between our petal and our border. And now I'm going to add a little bit of graphite to the outside of our Zingo flower. And again, just light, small circular motion, trying to keep it light because we don't want to dull up our watercolor. Another thing you could use if you wanted would be a gray brush marker, but I think this is just a little faster, and well, it takes a little practice to use that marker well. Not that I can't use the practice, but I am not ready to put it on this tile. Last thing in our Zingo that we can do, you don't have to, is to kind of, where we have these lines, you can add a little graphite. It kind of gives it some more dimension. So, and what I'm doing here is filling in one of the sections. Almost like every other section, but right now I'm just dealing with the tips, so. Basically try to shade the one side of this to give it dimension. Oh, I missed a line here. And this is a lot more shading than you really need to do. I just kind of wanted to show you some of the things you could do with the way we drew this flower. So I think, actually, I think it looks pretty good. It's given me a lot more dimension than I had previously. So I think I'm gonna leave it at the flower alone. I think we're good there. So the next thing is our butterflies. Now the butterflies, I'm going to put a little bit of graphite underneath the bottom wings. And that'll give it some separation from the Zingo flower where we need it. If you haven't noticed, I'm only doing one side at the moment. But that was really just because I can see that one side. Now I'll go back the other side. like so. Well, I tell you what, let's add a little bit more, just like we did under the bottom wings. Let's do under the top wings. And that should give us enough contrast there. See, if we had added more graphite to the top of the wings, then I think that would be too much graphite. And we don't want too much. We want our color to be able to play a leading role, not all of the shading. Because remember, shading is really just for contrast when we're dealing with Zentangle method. And even though we're drawing ZIA, Zentangle inspired art, we still want to hold on to as much of that Zentangle method as we can. Okay, now blend that out. If you wanted, you could add the graphite before you add the watercolor, but it will definitely react a little bit differently. And I think I like this method better, but feel free to try some other things for yourself. Now I am going to pull out this, it's like a glitter pen. It's a jelly roll pen. It's got a little star. I don't think you can see it, but it's got a little star on the barrel of the pen. There's a little star here. So it has like a glitter effect to it. So what we're going to do with this particular glitter pen, I'm using yellow because I want it to, I'm going to use it with my purple, and it's a contrast to purple, so it's the opposite on the color wheel. And what I'm going to do is fill in around our black dot, fill in the circle with this glitter, this yellow glitter. Now to get it started, I just kind of tap it a little bit. Now you'll notice, I hope, that the glitter does cover up the line that went straight across. So that's kind of cool. But you want to kind of be careful so you're not covering up your outside line or your dot in the center. almost done. So this is going to add a nice little sparkle to our butterfly wings. And I'm done now with that yellow. Now I'm going to use another one of the glitter pens. This one is, it looks gray inside the barrel, but it's really going to be almost just like a silver glitter. And what I'm going to do with this is on the opposite butterfly, the one that has the bands of aura lines, I am going to come in here, and inside that aura line I am going to put just this light row of silver inside that aura line. Add a little bit of sparkle to these wings as well. Oops, see what I did? I added this silver to the purple butterfly unintentionally, but that's okay. We'll just make them all have this silver aura around the upper wing. See, there are no mistakes, just new directions. You want to be careful with this gel ink because it also takes a little bit to dry, and I don't want to smear it by forgetting that and going over it with my wrist or my sweater or something else. So So as we were painting, if you recall, I was telling you I was not terribly concerned about going over the aura lines on our butterfly wings, and I think that's because I knew that I could always go back over it with this glitter ink, or any gel ink for that matter. I just like the sparkle of the glitter, and it would cover any of the paint that got spilled into that section. So there's that. Now, I also believe I'm going to put the same silver on the bottom wings inside that aura space too, just for continuity, if nothing else. We don't have auras on the green bottom wings, so I won't. Hopefully, I won't accidentally start putting some on there. wanted, we could add a little bit of sparkle to our Zingo flower, and I think I'll do that by adding a little in this aura around our ladybug shapes, or half moon shapes. Because I did have paint get in there too, and this is a nice way to cover it up. But I gotta remember, you want to smear anything that's still wet. All right. I think I'm good with that. So, the thing I have left now is to put my chop on my tile and sign it on the back. I will put my chop on it. Where should I put it? Remember, no up or down or on around, even though this is a ZIA, so excuse me, I'm trying to figure out what's the best way. And I think I'm just going to put it right in here. Just like that. And that is all there is. I'm going to leave it be. I don't want to turn it over in case any of that gel ink is still wet. But that is our tile. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see your tiles as you post them on social media or send them to me in an email. I always enjoy that as well. But if you are going to post them, here is the hashtag Angel Choir Mosaic. Hopefully that will help you get there. That way you can punch that in, and hopefully all the tiles will come up from the other artists who created their tiles as well. So thank you so much for joining me with this class. I really do hope you enjoy it. If you did, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you in another class very soon. Bye.